Good evening, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining us tonight on a very special webinar. We're talking fueling for CrossFit, an exciting subject to be talked about, and we've got a fantastic panel of guests to chat with you this evening. My name is Varun Shriram. I'm going to be your host tonight, but hopefully you guys aren't going to be hearing too much from me. You'll certainly want to hear from some of our other guests. We've got, first of all, we've got Tasia, and Tasia, I should ask you this right before we came on. I don't want to butcher your last name. How do I pronounce your last name?
It's Percevecz.
Tasia Percevecz. So Tasia is a very, fantastic CrossFit athlete. Been competitive to reach the CrossFit Games, up and coming. But Tasia, it's so great to have you join us, and thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
We're excited to pick your brain about all things CrossFit, especially when it comes to fueling for a workout. We're also joined by Seth Bronheim, a registered dietitian with Generation UCAN. Seth, how's it going tonight? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Doing fantastic, Varun. Thank you.
And we will shortly be joined by CrossFit coach Ben Kelly as well. Ben's just wrapping up a class, and as soon as that's done, he's going to dial in here. And so Ben will be sharing his insight with us as well this evening, and talking a lot about the fueling and nutrition aspect of CrossFit. But before we get started really in the meat of our discussion, which will take us over the next 30 to 45 minutes, just a few logistical things. We want to make this as interactive as we can. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to use the questions tab on the GoToWebinar app, and you will be able to send us your questions, and we'll certainly make sure to address them along the way. So Tasia, starting out with you, how did you get involved in the sport of CrossFit? What appealed to you about it, and what made you want to be a CrossFit competitor at a high level?
So I found CrossFit shortly after I graduated college. All through my growing up life, I competed gymnastics. So I did gymnastics from the age of 5 all the way through college. I competed gymnastics at UNH for Wildcats. So once I had graduated college, I was kind of at an in-between stage, I guess you would say. I was trying to find something that was active, but I didn't really know where to look. I ended up getting asked to do a CrossFit competition. Kind of crazy. I hadn't even really heard of CrossFit at all. And one of my friends was like, would you want to do this scaled competition with me? And I was like, sure. I hadn't been doing anything strenuously physical. I'd been kind of just doing the elliptical at the gym, trying to make up my own type of workouts, I guess you would say. So I agreed to do the scaled competition, and that kind of just was the start of it. It was so much fun. I loved it, and I got my butt kicked. For my entire life doing gymnastics, I had this, image of being, strong and physically fit, which I was, but not in the sense of CrossFit, which is a lot more, cardiovascular and aerobic, and it really opened my eyes to what fitness is, and ever since then, it's been a journey. I love it so much. I do it every day, obviously, all day. So, yeah.
Awesome, Tasia. That's a great story of how you found it, and as a former athlete looking for something to keep you being fit. I think it's a familiar thing I've heard from a lot of high level CrossFit athletes like yourself. I think we do have Ben Kelly, who's been able to join us now. Ben, are you with us?
Hello there.
Hello, Ben. Fantastic. Ben, we are live. Appreciate you joining us fresh off class. Had a chance to introduce Tasia and Seth, but everyone, this is Ben Kelly. He's a CrossFit coach with BK Athletics, a master's CrossFit athlete himself. He's got a rugby background as well. And Ben, I'll start you off the same way I started Tasia off. What brought you into the sport of CrossFit? What appealed to you about it and made you want to make it such a core part of your life?
Oh, mate, that's a good question. Well, with my background in rugby and playing in Australia and coming here to the United States after playing professionally in France, towards when I got into my 30s and I starting to get a little bit long in the tooth, it's time to retire from rugby, which is rugby league is a very, very tough contact sport. So, mate, when I found CrossFit, it was just a perfect fit because of the intensity, and I like to say that CrossFit is essentially rugby without getting hit. So it was just a very easy transition for me.
Fantastic. And, with any, sport where you're pushing the intensity and there's an endurance aspect to it, certainly, nutrition is very much at the forefront of it. Ben, we'll start with you. When you're trying to put together, whether it's for yourself or for the CrossFit athletes that you train, when you're trying to put together kind of a fuel plan for them, what general things are you getting people to focus on that they need to fuel a CrossFit workout?
Well, I mean, generally I'm looking to keep inflammation down. I mean, the number one priority for me at BK Athletics, we do assessments with every person that walks in the door before they go into our program, or if our assessment process throws up a couple of red flags, they may do some personal training at our facility also. So, mate, the one thing I've found is that each individual and each human being is different of how they react with food and what assimilates in their system. So essentially, I like to treat each person individually and what their needs and wants are. Athletic purposes is going to be a different kettle of fish than someone who's looking to lose weight. But the bottom line is, I mean, I'm looking to keep inflammation down, and the Paleolithic diet is definitely I'm a huge fan of. So generally, that's the one thing that I will promote or want people that I come in contact with to look to partake in is to start the Paleolithic diet or look into going down that road.
And when we're talking about keeping inflammation down, what just for folks who are listening in, like what are some things they should think about, in terms of foods or types of nutrients that contribute to inflammation? So what are you trying to get folks to avoid when you're talking about sugar?
Yeah, sugar. Yeah, man, that's the hardest thing is to when I do assessments with people and speak to them about what their nutrition is, and quite often I hear is my nutrition's quite good. So then I get a 3-day food recall before they come in for the assessment, and it's in 99% of cases that I've done assessments over the years, if they're starting the day with sugar, they're ending it with sugar, and then everything is a shit show in between. Then their sleep is disrupted, and there's a whole lot of factors that go into how a person's feeling based off their their eating throughout the day. But generally, it's a look at cutting down carbohydrates and grains and sugar, to be honest with you. Which is a very tough ask when people are, with what we've been brought up with, and what I was brought up with in Australia was grains and grains and generally carbohydrate laden foods that are disruptive to your gut and not good for optimal performance and optimal longevity of life. So times have definitely changed in regard to nutrition principles, and I find that especially in the CrossFit network, we're definitely ahead of the times. And basically, in a nutshell, it's looking at I'm looking at cutting down inflammation, which is essentially grains and sugar.
Tasia, as a college athlete, I think I guess we know the types of foods that are available to college athletes, and a lot of them are what Ben talked about, grains and sugar. So from your perspective, from the competitive athlete perspective, how have you approached nutrition? And maybe if it makes sense for you to segment it this way, how did you think about nutrition as a college athlete, and has that changed as the way you thought about nutrition as a CrossFit athlete?
So nutrition as a college athlete I definitely was a lot different then than I am now with my nutrition for CrossFit. For gymnastics, it was all about, being lean, like the best type of gymnast, not necessarily, but most likely is a very lean gymnast. So I didn't know a lot about nutrition, unfortunately, when I was in college, and I did my best to basically eliminate carbs then. But now, as a CrossFit athlete, I do still eat carbs. I just time them around my workouts. So it's very different in the sense that I'm expending a lot more energy and burning a lot more calories with the volume of work I do as a CrossFit athlete. So I do need those carbs. And I just try and time them as best as I can around those high intensity workouts. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense, and I think we'll talk about this much more. But the timing of carbohydrate and the quality of carbohydrate certainly comes into play. As we'll get into more, all carbs aren't created equal necessarily. So it's interesting to hear you
Sure.
talk about the timing aspect of it. And one more for you, Tasia. With what are some of the challenges when it comes to fueling? Like what are things that, as you've gotten more and more competitive in CrossFit, that have presented challenges to you?
So challenges mostly for me with fueling would be eating something before I work out, because I like to feel, almost like my stomach is empty, I guess. And before actually UCAN, I had struggled trying with a lot of different foods and things that I could time appropriately before I worked out, and they never really worked. So my strategy kind of was to not eat before I work out, which isn't necessarily a good thing. And since I found UCAN, it's been great because I can get that fuel before I work out, and it doesn't make me feel full, and it doesn't hurt my stomach. And in the middle of the workout, I'm not like, oh, I have a stomach ache. So that's been, the best part, or one of the best parts about the product.
Awesome. And we'll certainly get into that a little bit more. I'm not sure how many people on here know what UCAN is, but that's a great sentiment that you raise. And then, no, perhaps a lot of people do. Ben, I want to play off that same thing. If I've seen some of the workouts you put yourself through. You certainly train at a very high level. You work with a whole range of different levels and skills of athletes. What are the challenges that people are most commonly facing when they're coming into your gym to train? Is that aspect of what Tasia was saying of training empty so as not to feel full? Is that something that a lot of people get stuck into?
Mate, I'm. If we're talking about two different, kettle of fish here, we're talking about the athlete, which Tasia is, and myself, and I think that, and then you've got the regular person who's looking to lose weight and look good naked, and come into my CrossFit facility. I mean, 99% of the people that train at BK Athletics are regular type 1, business people. Our demographic in Fairfield is business people in their 30s to 40s, and they're just, they're coming in for a workout. Now, on the other end of the scale, you've got the athletes that are finely tuned, and they're very few and far between at my facility. And I think that really the bread and butter of most CrossFit facilities around the country and around the world. So, mate, realistically, with the majority of my population, it's a matter of just education with individuals. Depending on what time of the day they're training, will determine what they're eating before workouts. But I'm a huge fan of branched chain amino acids in the morning with black coffee before training, and have been doing that for quite a few years myself. I like training just like, sorry, is it Tasia?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly, yep.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I just wanted to get that right. I'm a huge fan of training on empty gut myself. But for the regular person, depending on what time they wake up in the morning and what time they're training, will determine what their feelings like before training session.
Excellent. Seth, so let's bring you in here for a moment as we look at the next slide. We heard Ben talk about sugars and grains and really trying to cut back on those from an inflammatory standpoint. We've heard Tasia talk about the timing of carbohydrates. So if we could just take a step back for a moment, Seth, what happens in the body when somebody ingests carbohydrate? What's the impact of it, and maybe you can kind of give us the range of carbohydrates. Like what happens if somebody were to ingest a piece of white bread versus something more complex.
So I think the main thing is that when someone takes in a carbohydrate, whether it's a banana, a sweet potato, white bread, is that they all are pretty fast acting. White bread is more fast acting than a sweet potato, but they all pretty much break down pretty rapidly, and that's why they break down into sugar and they raise your blood sugar pretty high. And the whole role of insulin in the body, and insulin spikes are associated with inflammation and pain, which is probably what Ben's trying to keep down with his clientele. But the fact is that when you put the calories get digested rapidly and they cause that blood sugar spike, insulin has to come into the body. You got too many calories in your bloodstream, and you got to store the rest away, and your blood sugar starts to drop. And that's why people get waves in energy and highs and lows when they take in too much carbohydrate, especially ones that are fast acting.
So these blood sugar swings, what are how do they manifest themselves in terms of the way people feel? Like if you take in something fast acting, how are you going to feel? 20 minutes into your workout, 30 minutes into your workout.
Well, that's what's so fascinating is that even though on paper you might look like you have a lot of energy in your bloodstream because you've taken in a lot of calories, there's new research showing that even if your blood sugar is above baseline, like you have a lot of energy in your bloodstream, if your blood sugar is dropping because insulin came into the body to bring your blood sugar back down, or you're training hard, you're going to feel your, almost like hypoglycemic, or you're going to feel energy drop, even though, again, on paper, your bloodstream shows you have adequate energy. So that's why it's so important to keep your blood sugar stable, because it keeps your energy steady. And so much of keeping your blood sugar steady is what's associated with preventing fatigue.
Ben, we heard Tasia say this when she was talking about being a gymnast and trying to be very lean at that time, and trying to cut back on carbs to achieve that. From your perspective, the average person, they hear that they shouldn't have carbohydrate, or that carbs are going to cause weight gain or result in increased body fat. They may hear that, but they may not know why. Can you speak to that a little bit? How should people think about the impact of carbohydrate in terms of body fat and weight gain? Ben, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Sorry, mate.
Sorry. No problem at all. So I was just going to ask you, when carbs get that bad rap, right? People might hear carbs get a bad rap. They're going to make me gain weight, but they may not know, exactly why. So what is it about, your typical fast-acting carbohydrates that are causing this weight gain?
Well, it's not only the carbohydrates that are causing the gain. It's what people are eating with them. And I mean, it's essentially that's my one template plan for people with nutrition, which is I don't give a template for anyone. But the one thing I do advise for everyone that I do meet is to have a protein with every meal or snack to temper the carbohydrate insulin spike. So, again, I couldn't really go into too much more detail about that unless I'd be talking about the individual in person.
Sure, makes sense. So I think in terms of workout fueling, I want to dive a little bit more into both of your guys' experience with UCAN specifically. But Seth, I'll let you just quickly take a couple minutes to kind of we've talked about the role of carbohydrate and sugar causing these highs and lows and these swings. But take us through a little bit what UCAN's all about and what makes it very, very unique as a carbohydrate.
So, I mean, we have a carbohydrate with all the opposite effects of carbohydrates. Like we were talking about, UCAN does not spike your blood sugar, and UCAN does not spike your insulin levels. And the reason it does that is that it was actually meant for medical purposes originally. UCAN was meant for kids with a life-threatening disease. They had life-threatening hypoglycemia, low blood sugar. These kids didn't survive before the 70s. And UCAN was really created to help these kids keep their blood sugar stable and sleep throughout the night, instead of having risks of hypoglycemia and being fed every 2 hours. Joe and I are looking at the screen here. I mean, he has 3 scoops of UCAN before he goes to bed, and he sleeps all 8 hours because a large enough dose keeps his blood sugar steady enough at night. And really, there was 8 years of research to find, this carbohydrate. They tried barleys, tapiocas, rices, and wheats, and we have the patent on a cooking method using non-GMO, so not genetically modified corn. It's just cooked with heat and water, no enzymes, no chemicals. But we found the right heat and moisture content, so the carbohydrate breaks down with little bits over time instead of fast-acting carbs that break down all at once into your bloodstream. So it's our cooking method that we have the patent on that allows UCAN to be very easy on the stomach, like Tasia mentioned, but to allow it to break down over time. So we really enter the body at the rate the brain and the body want to receive calories and fuel, not giving you that spike like so many foods do today, giving you all the calories at once. So you'll see here, UCAN Superstarch formula is the red line. We're giving you a steady amount of energy, little bits over time, compared to maltodextrin, so popular in so many protein shakes and bars, which gives you that big spike in energy. So the whole thing is that you're 20 minutes into your training, UCAN's still keeping you steady, and so much of maintaining your blood sugar is about maintaining your power output. But the other big thing is that if you're going hard and you're going high intensity and your blood sugar is dropping, you can break down stored protein to raise your blood sugar back up, and there's a whole aspect of UCAN that also prevents protein breakdown, which really correlates to preserving muscle mass. I was just speaking to a CrossFit coach who's been using UCAN for the past 6 weeks, and he's gained 9 pounds of muscle, and it's the only change he's made. It was pretty unbelievable results.
So Ben, with you, how did UCAN come on your radar? How did you hear about it, and why were you intrigued to try this as a pre-workout food?
Yeah, that's a good question. Honestly, mate, it was Jason Lydon at CrossFit Milford, a good mate of mine, who sent an email and spiked my interest to a bunch of CrossFit coaches and said, fellas, we've been testing this out. It's the real deal. Check it out. So I had a quick snoop and looked into your website, and then I reached out to Seth, and then Seth came down, had a chat with him, and it just had a good relationship with Seth, and it sounded like it was definitely worth a test run. So that was a few weeks before the Open, this year's CrossFit Open, and I thought, okay, let's give this a go in training. So if I'm going to use it in testing in the actual Open series, I want to make sure it's it does what it proposes to do. So I basically, long story short, I've been using it every day since. So I mean, that really tells you the tale of what the product is. I have been taking UCAN every training session and every test I've done in CrossFit. Crikey, now it's been I think close to 3 months, and I'm a huge fan of the product. Again, for how it feels in the brain. Again, not fatiguing the brain when you're under the pump, and allows you to get back to the barbell, back to the pull-up bar a lot quicker than I have done in the past. And again, I train on an empty stomach in the morning. I mix my UCAN I have black coffee first thing in the morning after a couple of large glasses of water. I also have 10 Master Amino patent pills, which I have been taking for a few years, and I have either 1 to 2 scoops of the cran raspberry UCAN for training sessions. And again, I'm a huge fan. I feel great on it. I feel sustained energy, and that be it long or short workouts, it no matter really. I mean, if I'm doing a longer endurance piece in the Masters regional final, there was a longer 20-minute gut check piece that really I had a noticeable, had an aha moment in the midst of that. But what's the word for it? I'm really surprised about the product. I'm actually, pleasantly surprised daily. And a lot of my athletes in my gym and my members who are regular business people, mums and dads, are using the product and love it. So, I can't really speak highly enough about it.
Ben, one of the things, and Tasia, I want to get to you here in a moment, but to follow up on what you said, Ben, one of the things you'd mentioned previously was, that you generally recommend when people consume a carbohydrate that they pair it with protein, and
Yes.
the logic behind that for
Yes.
folks that may not know is that protein, we've been talking about this spike that certain carbohydrates cause, and protein is going to help slow the breakdown, so it's entering your system at a slower rate. But when actually with UCAN, based on the way you've described it, you're consuming this carbohydrate pre-workout and not pairing it with protein. Can you just speak to that?
Correct. And mate, just piggybacking on that, I've also given it a test run in the afternoon, and I've had a scoop or even a double scoop of UCAN in the afternoon, just the carbohydrate UCAN alone, and I can run 4 to 5 hours without any drops in energy. Mood is stable, and I'm just cranking at a high level. And I mean, I'm not only an athlete and coach, but I'm a very busy businessman, and it's like, with multiple, just lots of very busy schedule. So, I've given that a test run quite a few times in the afternoon with the carbohydrate alone, and that just blows my mind. But in saying that, I am a huge, my go-to in the afternoon is the vanilla bean protein, which is a little bit of protein infused, and I actually add some of my own grass-fed whey to that to make it a nice afternoon snack. And I quite often go, I eat a nice solid lunch, and then mid-afternoon, that's all I have. I'll have either 2 scoops of UCAN or 1 scoop with an added scoop of my protein, and I'm cranking right through to dinner time, 6 or 7 o'clock at night.
So to give folks, in case you don't know, an idea of what Ben's talking about here, you can see on the screen the family of UCAN products. So there's essentially 4 different UCAN products, but the ones we really want to focus on right now are the products with the super starch, this unique carbohydrate, this slow releasing carbohydrate that we've been talking about. So those are what you see as UCAN Fuel, UCAN with protein, and UCAN Snack. And excuse me here, it does say pre-run, but this really should just say pre-workout. So the UCAN Fuel, it comes in 4 different flavors. Ben was talking about the cranberry raspberry one he's using. That's just simply the carbohydrate with some electrolytes, and that's the UCAN Fuel. Then we've got the UCAN with protein, which is also the super starch carbohydrate plus some added protein. That works great. Pre-workout, if you're a little bit hungry, it works also great. As a post-workout shake, you can add some extra protein to it, like Ben's doing if you're looking for true muscle gain. It's also a great midday snack for satiety. And then the same with the UCAN snack bar. Also has the super starch in it, has some protein and healthy fats in it as well. So it's going to, again, give you that steady blood sugar, steady energy. Also going to curb hunger in the stomach with the protein and fat, curb hunger in the brain by keeping your blood sugar stable. Tasia, how about for you? How did UCAN come on your radar? Tasia, did we lose you? Well, we may have temporarily lost her. We'll see if we can get her back on. But Seth, let me kick it to you for a minute. So Ben was talking about using UCAN for longer and shorter workouts. So when people look at this this blood sugar curve right over here that we were looking at, they see the red line extends for a long period of time, and it kind of clicks, right? It's giving you that steady release, that extended release of energy over a longer period of time. But what's the benefit of keeping your blood sugar steady for those shorter, more intense CrossFit workouts?
Right. So, really, the thing is that by keeping your blood sugar steady, uh, you're able to maintain your power output. That's what is so important. Um, you know, During a 30-minute workout, the higher the intensity, the more likely your blood sugar is to drop. And so during a short workout, by keeping your blood sugar steady, you're really preventing fatigue. I mean, it's been described that 7 to 10 minutes into a CrossFit workout, you tend to get a drop in energy. But with UCAN, there's no drop at all. But you simply feel normal. So with UCAN, you're staying very steady, and you can approach higher intensities, but your power output won't drop off at all, and that's huge for your shorter workouts.
Now, Ben, there's other things, right, that people will consume from a carbohydrate standpoint that may be slow burning, that may not create, a huge rise in blood sugar. Like, say, people think of a sweet potato as being a a better form of carbohydrate. But when we were speaking a few weeks ago, you talked about how you put all those things to the test, and you found UCAN to be even superior to other low glycemic carbohydrates. Can you just speak to that?
Yeah, well, I mean, with the UCAN, I just don't feel any ebbs and flows in energy. So it's just the perfect pre-workout fuel, and it's also the perfect, as you mentioned there, mid-afternoon snack. And for the person, just the regular punter listening here, looking to lose weight or looking to balance their blood glucose levels and have a better performance in daily life, this product is the real deal. And I mean, I don't get paid anything from UCAN. I just love the product. I love the product of what it does for me, and I also love the product of what it does for my members at BK Athletics. And I mean, the product's walking off the shelves because of the way people feel. And we forgot to mention the protein bar. I've got a vending machine at my facility. It just gets sold out. It's a huge hit. It's a very nice tasting protein bar, I might add. One of the best tasting on the market.
I got a kick out of coming to your facility and seeing UCAN in the vending machine. That was a good day. That was one of my favorites.
It's definitely great. But I just and I before I even brought it into my facility, and because I don't promote or sell anything at BK Athletics, I'm a huge proponent of whole food, but UCAN is a food, and so I tested it extensively myself, made sure that it was a quality product, and I got great results with it, and with myself testing it, all my coaches testing it first, we just got some great responses from it. Everyone was very happy with the results and the performance, especially doing CrossFit workouts. So, and then I felt comfortable introducing it to my members, and we're just getting great feedback all the time. And let me just add, we did do a boot camp over 2 months ago, and we actually put in one of the vanilla protein UCAN tubs in the gift pack with a couple of bottles of a couple of boxes of protein bars, and that was awesome for about 30 newcomers to the program, and everyone was raving about the product there too. So it was really good. It was great to introduce that to new people. And get them on the right track, because a lot of them hadn't been exercising before. So I was encouraging them to have a UCAN scoop before breakfast, and then also the protein bars in the afternoon. I've got some body fat testing results that we've done some retesting and testing initially and testing after, and I'd like to bring those to you in the near future. We're just finalising those the data results we got from that.
Fantastic. We're looking forward to seeing that. So, Seth, with if people want to get started, how should they think about implementing UCAN? Like, what are good times for and good ways for people to think about using it?
I think again, this is a pre-workout food. There's no caffeine. It's not that type of pre-workout. We're just saying it's a food tab before you exercise. It's so easy on the stomach, and it releases precisely at the rate your brain wants to receive calories when you exercise. So I would have it 20 minutes before you exercise. The longer you warm up, the closer you can have it to your training, because if you're foam rolling and warming up, but most people like to give it a good 30 minutes. Some people do it an hour before, but some people roll out of bed and go right to the gym. They have it 15 minutes before. And I think, again, the main thing is if your goal is fat loss and you're someone who has cravings after a workout for whatever reason, people do combine a scoop of UCAN with their protein powder, or have some protein-enhanced UCAN after a workout to keep the fat-burning effects of the workout going and keep insulin low. And really, the last way, I just did this today. I took a scoop of UCAN, 2 tablespoons of cacao powder, just raw cocoa powder, and a little bit of cream, and I made a shake with it, just the way Ben is talking about, and just hard charging with it, and so again, that 2 to 4 p.m. time frame when you're looking for that third cup of coffee, when you're looking for a stress-based food, I can't, I'd really recommend a scoop or 2 of UCAN to keep you going and really curb hunger in the brain, especially as you're approaching dinner. And that's really how it can be used to help with weight management, is, avoid those blood sugar flows that really cause cravings and overeating. The problem with carbs sometimes is that they cause you to have that carb domino effect. Many people have a pretzel, and then it's a whole bag. And with UCAN, by keeping blood sugar steady, you're avoiding that carb domino effect and curbing cravings in the brain. And that's really how you'd implement it for just daily use. I mean, we have a neurobiologist at Yale, knowing everything about the mitochondria of the brain, has UCAN before her 6-hour lectures to med students. So it's really so important for those teachers, doctors, nurses, surgeons who need a longer lasting fuel, especially, or folks who have back-to-back meetings.
Ben, anything to add there? How are you? Is Seth covered a lot there, but is what he's talking about kind of the ways that you're looking to implement it with the folks that you train? Depending, maybe not all the ways, but depending on the situation, are those the ways that you're recommending people use the product?
100%. Yeah, no, I think that again, you're talking about two different populations. You've got the athlete who will love to use it before workouts. And you just got to test the product to see the great results you get, and also for the mid-afternoon snack for the athlete, and also for the regular person. Now, there's a few different ways you can use the product, and for the different populations. And it's a phenomenal product, and all the listeners out there should give it a test run for themselves and just see how it feels for them. And I'm sure they'll be raving about it.
I think I'm going to see one more time. Tasia, are you with us? All right. Well, it's unfortunate we lost her, but Seth, I want you to maybe before, as we get close to wrapping this up, give a perspective. I know you've talked with Tasia at length. For an athlete at her level, I mean, I guess the nice thing about UCAN is that the usage isn't very complicated, but when you've spoken to her, what has she told you about how she's using it and the benefit that she sees from it?
She said she's using it to really, it's very much maintaining your energy throughout a mixed modality type workout, whether it's Olympic lifts infused with some type of cardiovascular training with jump rope, or some type of body weight training. So it's really doing a scoop before an hour workout, or 2 scoops before a 2-hour workout. But I was at CrossFit Westchester today, and one of the coaches said he usually works out. He has to break up his workouts because he gets hungry after, during his workouts. And he said with UCAN, he's no longer breaking up his workouts. He's just powering his way through the entire time. And he couldn't believe that he wasn't hungry during or after his workouts. We hear that more and more. And to give a perspective, we see Craig Kenny here on the screen, who was competed at the CrossFit Games last year, just missed out on qualifying this year, finishing 6th, top 5 end up qualifying. But Craig's really saying the same thing, that he feels the same way at the beginning of the workout as he does at the end, and that really comes back to the core principle that we're talking about here today, which is that maintenance of blood sugar. So I want to make sure that we're explicitly clear on that. When we're talking about UCAN, it's not magic. I mean, there's a why behind to everything Ben's saying and everything Ben's feeling, and it really fundamentally comes back to that stabilization of blood sugar. And just to reiterate what Seth was talking about, what's so unique about UCAN is because this carbohydrate, the super starch, goes through this patented cooking process, and it was developed, for kids originally with this rare blood sugar disease. There's nothing else from a carbohydrate standpoint that's going to maintain your blood sugar or maintain your energy for as long as super starch. Ben, I know that you've spoken at length about the importance of maintaining that even level of blood glucose, but maybe to highlight that one more time before we sign off, how critical is that, just both from a fitness perspective, but just in everyday life?
Well, for everyday life, it's it's of the utmost importance. I think that Tasia mentioned that earlier in regard to the timing of her carbohydrates. If you're going to be having high glycemic carbs, be it an athlete or a regular person, the only time you should be having in a perfect world is surrounding your workouts. So the rest of the time we should be having low glycemic carbohydrates, protein-rich, good quality grass-fed protein, and quality fats. The great thing about UCAN again is that you can have this carbohydrate, and you can have it alone in the middle of the afternoon. You can have it at night, and you can go to sleep on it. So it's something that doesn't affect your blood glucose levels, doesn't affect energy. So it's just a potent product for health, longevity, and performance.
You talked about, with the high level athlete, perhaps when there may be a time for the more fast acting high glycemic carbohydrates for,
Right.
for the everyday individual. I know we can't always live in a perfect world, but that everyday person really, as much as possible, doesn't need those fast acting carbohydrates, correct?
Oh, that's right. But I mean, that's the hard part about, well, that's the reality of life and the people that I speak to is that, the majority of the population are on a high carbohydrate diet, and some are struggling. So, if you have a product that can help you keep your cravings down, keep your energy sustained, and keep you balanced, well, then you're on a winner. And I think that UCAN does that. In fact, I know UCAN does that because I'm seeing it with the athletes that I train. I'm seeing it with the people that come into my program looking to lose weight and looking to be lean, fit, and healthy.
Well, this is fantastic, Ben. A lot of great insight. I really appreciate you taking the time and joining us tonight. For anybody that is on here with us or who registered for this webinar, do stay tuned. You will receive a full recording of this webcast into your email along with a special offer. So if you haven't had a chance to try UCAN yet, you will get an opportunity to do so. Ben, anything else you'd like to add before you leave us for the evening? Anything we didn't cover, or anything else you wanted to get to?
Mate, I think you've covered everything. I think that again, I just as I've said, I rave about the product. Extremely happy with it, only because of me testing it. I test it daily. I drink it daily. So it's a great product, and that's thanks for having us today, and I appreciate it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Ben. You can check out more about Ben at bkathletics.com. It's a great facility. Sorry, go ahead, Ben.
Sorry, it's bkathletics.net.
bkathletics.net. Thank you. I apologize for getting that wrong. That's bkathletics.net. He's Ben Kelly, fantastic coach, heck of an athlete. We're sorry we lost Tasia. I think she was having some cell phone trouble. Oh, she is back. There we go. We got her back. Well, Tasia, we'll let you jump in here. We're getting ready to sign off, but no problem at all. We'll stick around for another 5 or 10 minutes and give you a chance. We'd asked Ben how he was introduced to UCAN. How did it come on your radar? How did you first hear about the product?
So similar to Ben's story, I'm not sure how I got lost, but I'm back now.
Fantastic.
I was listening to the whole thing. So I had heard, Ben say that he was introduced to it by, someone at CrossFit Milford, but my coach, Brandon Peterson, had brought UCAN up to me. And at first, originally, I was kind of hesitant about taking the product because of the word starch. It kind of scared me away. I was, worried about any sort of weight gain and stuff like that. But he pushed the product on me, and I started using it, I started taking it, and I started seeing results. And it's been so great for my training because, right now with my goal being the CrossFit Games, qualifying to the CrossFit Games, my volume is high pretty much year round. I spend, a matter of 5 to 6 hours a day just in training, broken up into 2 sessions, and I need something that's going to, keep my energy level up. And UCAN has so far been the only thing that has been able to do that for me. As well as that, going alongside with that, the stomach problems. I've tried so many different types of foods that have always, caused either, an overly full feeling, or it doesn't give me the ability to maintain that energy throughout a workout. And then at the end of my workout, I've noticed that my recovery time is a lot quicker. And I bring up the workout 15.5 this year. It was the last workout of the Open because that's where I really, felt like UCAN had, done something for me, because it was a very mental and physical workout. It was so tough, and it was one of my best workouts. But when I finished it, it left you on the floor with nothing left. And it was like right after I felt like, I was going to die. It was, oh my gosh, everything hurts, I can't breathe. And then within a few minutes, I had recovered enough to feel like I could almost work out again. And I think that UCAN has really, it's changed how I train, and it's really exciting. I love the product so much, and, I try to, get other people to try it just because of the great things that it's done for me.
Well, that's fantastic, Tasia. But what was really fascinating was, and something that you said also at the beginning, where when you saw the word starch or heard the word starch, you kind of had associated it with weight gain or something that you wanted to stay away from. You spoke about the results you've seen from it, and we heard, very clearly what it's done for you from an energy maintenance standpoint throughout your workouts. Now that you've been using it for several months, have you noticed anything in terms of body composition that adding UCAN to your training has allowed you to achieve?
Yeah, well, I was using UCAN leading up training for regionals, and it really helped me to lean out, which was, ideal for what I was going into, along with the regionals volume, which was really high. And by the time I had gotten to regionals, I really felt, at my peak of where my body was able to be at that moment. So UCAN really helped do that for me.
Very cool. Seth, I want you to piggyback on what Tasia just said. I think when people see the word starch or they hear the carbohydrate, again, tell us, why is this not having the same effect as what people might typically associate with a starch or, a carbohydrate that's derived from corn?
Well, go. Can you skip to the insulin slide? That'll help. The main thing is we've seen UCAN's blood sugar curve, and remember, it all goes back to our cooking method. The patented cooking method with UCAN, non-GMO corn, with 40 hours of heat and water, no enzymes, no chemicals. It's our cooking method that allows our carbohydrate to break down steadily over time instead of all at once into your bloodstream. That's why it stabilizes your blood sugar. But the big thing is that we keep insulin low, and this is why you'll lean down, and this is why it's not a typical carb. Many people who hate carbohydrates because they spike your blood sugar, they cause inflammation, they're huge fans of UCAN because it keeps insulin levels low. And that's the whole thing, is because it releases steadily, it doesn't spike your blood sugar. There's no reason for insulin to come into the body and cause its negative effects. We're keeping insulin low, allowing for fat breakdown and utilization during your workout, but also keeping insulin low to really also, allow for, no negative effects of highs and lows in blood sugar. One of the main reasons you get ebbs and flows in blood sugar is because insulin comes into the body and tells your body to bring your blood sugar back down. But with UCAN, because it releases over time, there's no need for that insulin response. We keep insulin levels extremely low, and that's why it's not that typical starch. It has all the opposite effects of any starch. And some things might even claim to be low glycemic, but it's, again, the rate that UCAN enters your body for your brain that gives it its uniqueness. It's not just that it doesn't spike your blood sugar, it's the rate it comes into the body, keeping insulin levels low, and also, therefore, keeping blood sugar stable.
So it's not spiking you, but then again, it's also maintaining you for a long period of time. Tasia, I'll ask you one final one before we sign off for the evening. As a competitive athlete, there's so much. You mentioned it already. It's a mental game. It's not just physical. There's certainly strategy. There's a million things that you're trying to focus on. I'm sure in a given workout. When the nutrition element is kind of taken care of, when that's not a worry, when that doesn't become a focus anymore, as you've talked about with UCAN, how powerful is that? What impact does that have on your level and ability to train hard?
I think that has a huge impact on your ability to train hard, because there's so many factors that go into each workout, especially in competition, that eliminating any stressor is going to just help you to push to your limits. I'm trying to push my limit to be the best I can physically be, whatever that means, and that's going to take a lot of mental and physical stamina. So to be able to eliminate a stressor of diet and nutrition, which is a huge part of the game, is, it's amazing. It makes it so much easier to go in knowing that what I'm taking is helping me. It's not hurting me. It's just only aiding in me becoming the best athlete I can be.
Well, we wish you were excited to see the continued progression. Really wish you the best of success for the rest of this year. I really want to thank you and Ben again for taking some time to chat with us tonight to share your experiences, to educate the audience. We really do appreciate that. So Tasia, Ben, thank you guys both so much. Thanks a lot for spending some time with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
For Varun, Seth, I'm Varun. For Tasia and Ben, want to sign off and say goodnight. Seth, I will let you have the last word. Anything else to add?
No, just that folks can learn more on our website and also at generationucan.com /CrossFit. And that's it. Have a good night, everyone.
I put that URL in the chat. It's generationucan.com /CrossFit. Like I said, stay tuned for a full replay and a special offer if you'd like to try UCAN. I'm Varun Sriram. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you.